Hey folks, Michaela here. Wanted to share from Oaxaca, Mexico. Thankfully, one of my gorgeous clients corrected me. I was saying Oaxaca, it's Oaxaca. And it's interesting. Wanted to show you my little loft here that I'm staying in. It's upstairs in an old factory, which we'll walk around. We'll walk and talk through the factory. But so this whole thing is ends up being about $68 a night USD, which is amazing considering I do also have 5 animals with me. There's one of them. Here's Cricket, Charlie. Leo's around here somewhere. Nikki's not doing so great. What, Biddy? What is it? You silly girl. She got the zoomies. She got the zoomies. And I know I may hear it from people who don't think I should let my cats outside, but they don't really give me a choice about it. I found Cricket in the bushes, and then Leo, they're just gonna do what they're gonna do. So there was a little bit of a scare in Puerto Vallarta, but Miss Cricket found her way back to us while losing her air tag. I don't know. So, but this place is really secure. And if it weren't, I wouldn't be letting them out. The Puerto Vallarta incident was not intentional by any means. It was more of it started to rain, and so I opened the door on my balcony, and yeah, she left for the day. But then I put her little scratch post outside that smells like home and smells like us, and she came back the next day. So fortunately, before we had to leave, God, I would have stayed for my cat guys, don't worry. But they're having a blast here, and it's a pretty cool place, as you can see. So my spot is up there. And then we've got factory stuff. And I really haven't seen anyone else much. Like there's people who work here during the week. It's Sunday here, but here they come. Not as far as guests, I think I've only seen one other couple. And these flowers are cool. I just realized that they start yellow and then turn orange. So I will be moving to another one of these rooms in a couple weeks, because the one I'm in is booked, and I'm just staying here for a little bit to regroup and save some money. Tolls and gas here is about almost double what it is in the States. And of course you see the price and forget that they're talking about liters, not gallons. I may have already mentioned that. And then probably gonna head to the coast again after this, because I'm about 3 hours from the beach right now. And if you've been following along, you know the beach is one of my big pushes. But the interior of Mexico is so much cooler. And although I will say, I'm blaming it on the Tropic of Cancer that I crossed, that even at 78 degrees, 34% humidity, I was sweating my ass off the other day. So maybe the sun is just more intense, but this was the little hummingbird picture I posted the other day. But yeah, pretty neat. So this is where we're hanging out for now. I did post about expat grief, which is a phenomenon, even though the unfeeling and unnuanced amongst us decided to try to skewer me for that. It's actually a mental health phenomenon. It is grief. It did feel like a death, and it is. It's the death of who I was. And my home, like I have no home now, and being at least 1,000 miles away from anybody who knows me or cares that I exist, knows that I exist, cares that I exist, loves me, that makes you feel really insignificant, which I'm all for humility. But yeah, it just blindsided me, and I imagine it's not done with me yet. I thought of somebody from my childhood today that I haven't spoken to in ages, and just waterworks again. So it's probably just right here. And people ask, well, how are you doing? And I said, well, minute for minute, it changes, and it really does. But it's getting better. I'm becoming more acclimated. As far as just to being away, not necessarily to being in Mexico or any other country for that matter, right? That's going to take much longer. But it's also the fact that who you rebuild will be rebuilt. Who you rebuild as will be rebuilt in a foreign land. And that often, well, for me anyway, involves a place where I don't speak the language very well and they don't speak mine very well. And so an example would be like if I were to reference this Rihanna song, that if, it came to my mind and I'm like, hey, remember this song? And I was doing this back then. And they're going to be probably would be like, I don't know. Maybe everybody knows Rihanna. Who the hell knows? But like that, right? Like where there's not a whole lot of commonality beyond being a human and having human needs. And again, back to it, just creating significance again where you are insignificant. Nobody here gives two shits if I live or die. So versus in your homeland, there's probably people close to you that at least know you and would wonder if you were missing or whatever. That's not the case in rebuilding a sense of self from where I'm at right now. I am starting to have people reach out on Facebook, which is amazing, to share that they've gone through it too. There's, of course, plenty of assholes that have lots of other things to say, but we won't give them attention. But they didn't know what to call it, and they were actually feeling guilty about it, that they shouldn't be feeling this way. And that's one of the reasons I want to share what I'm sharing. I don't want anybody to have to reinvent the wheel. I know there's going to be more than just me doing this, particularly from the US, and I'm not the first and I won't be the last. I just don't want it to be fear that holds people back. So I'm exposing my fear and am making myself vulnerable, which means that, the trolls come out, and that is hard for me as a sensitive person. But I also am getting pretty good at either telling them to fuck off or just blocking them at this point. I don't need to explain myself beyond what I have, and those who are meant to hear it are understanding it. So thank you all for your support in that way. I did have several videos I did one in Puerto Vallarta. I did one on the road from Puerto Vallarta to here. I don't even remember what I was saying in them. But once that grief hit, those felt irrelevant because I was kind of still on that high of maybe arrogance, which I absolutely despise. So I want that eradicated, and Mexico grabbed a scalpel. It's sure I'm not fully cooked on that either, I know. And grief comes in waves, but my dad said, well, what would you tell your clients? And I would tell my clients that to let the grief be, to feel it, to let it hurt, acceptance of what is, journal it out, remember the impermanence, that everything will move, everything's impermanent. Gratitude and trusting that while I ask everybody to trust in the perfection of what is, I don't say everything happens for a reason, but I do believe in the perfection of what is, and that we alchemize our suffering to hopefully help others, right? So I'm making myself vulnerable, hopefully to help others, and it does, and that's great. And I fully believe that's what I'm on this planet to do, is to help others heal in one capacity or another. I'm not healing anybody. Again, for you non-nuanced folks out there, it's that hopefully through my own growth and suffering that others say, hey, I'm not alone, and I could go do that if I wanted to. So that's the point of these here. And just to, show something different. I've not been on social media much in probably over a decade at least. That version of myself is no more anyway, so I guess that doesn't really matter. But I think that this is important stuff. It's silly stuff sometimes, like that my understanding of salsa isn't here unless it's in someone's homemade kitchen or homemade in someone's kitchen, which I also got skewered for some reason. You people really got to get a life. The negative ones anyway. These two they're so silly. But in addition to the fun and the beautiful, also helping others step outside their own limitations. This has been, like, when I got here, my trip from Puerto Vallarta to here was intense. The first day I just drove towards Mexico City, stayed the night. Getting there I got there after dark, which was a no-no, but it was what it was. I did an 8-hour drive that day and the next day, which I usually try to stick to 6. But just wanted to get to Oaxaca, and was planning to head to Puerto Escondido faster, but again, money, and that's a more expensive location. But that drive I did get stopped. I don't know if I've already shared that I got pulled over I went through a road stop and they pulled me over to the side and searched my vehicle. And I guess because I was tired, he was convinced I was stoned. I don't know. Kept asking me if I smoke and why I have so many lighters and all these things. I'm like, well, prior military, I got a lot of knives in there too, So they ended up not finding anything and let me go my merry way, but that was intense. And then the next morning, I knew I had to get pesos, dinero, for the tolls because I couldn't figure out where to get the toll pass. And then I finally found that, but it ran out really quick. I think it cost a couple $100 in tolls so far, maybe several hundred. I don't know how many miles I've gone or anything like that. But that morning, got on the toll road, was able to pay through the first toll, but needed to stop. And so I found a gas station, pulled into the gas station, fill her up, and I'm stand there and I watch, and you got to make sure they zero out the machine and all these things that I've been told on these forums. I get out and I talk to them, and because they do your gas for you. You don't do your own gas here. And they'll do your windshield, and a tip is appreciated and that kind of stuff. So I had about, I don't remember how much it was in fuel that I needed to pay for. And it was about 55 degrees. I was in sweats, but I was in flip-flops, and the service sucked. So my cards suddenly weren't working. I couldn't pay, because I asked before she started, do you take the card? And she said yes. So great. Went through the 3 cards that I have to use here, and none of them were working. I'm like, I don't have any cash. So I go to the OXXO, which there's an app, Remitly, I think it's called, where you can send cash to these stores, and they're contracted to then give you cash. And I think I shared about those super kind Mexican women that called their friend in to come translate for me to get me money that day. Just, wow. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to the OXXO, get some cash. Well, this is right off the toll, and tour buses had just pulled in. So the guy locked the doors to the convenience store and just had a window. So if you wanted something, you could order, but he wasn't letting you in his store. And I guess he thought I was one of these among the troopers on the tour buses, and he wouldn't let me in, and he wouldn't give me cash. And so I'm like, what the hell? And I couldn't be in my car to do anything on my phone because of the service, and it was freezing. So I'm out there with my toes, and once my toes are cold, I'm a different person. But trying to figure out how I can make this work, because I don't know what the problem is. My banks aren't blocking anything. It's nothing like that. I've been using these cards for my whole trip. And so then I finally went back over, and turns out I think it was their machines, and because another guy came out and started and messed with it, and then it worked like 45 minutes later. And then the tour buses were gone, so I could walk into the OXXO, and I said, oh, I can come in now. And then originally he was like, no, I'm not going to give you money. And I showed where you're contracted to give me money, and and he asked me, well, how much? Okay, well, I need about 2,000 pesos. So, which I think they call 2 mil. I think that's mil. They don't do thousands, maybe. I don't know. I'm sure somebody will skewer me for that too. But then he was willing to help. So I ended up getting some cash and was able to hit the road. I reloaded the pass that I have because it ran out before I even realized it when I had it the first when I got it for the trip before. And I was thinking it was their machines weren't working, but the pass ran out. And, of course I didn't know that. So that was not fun. And it set the tone for when I got here. And I think it scared me. I think it definitely brought out some very real things that could happen. Well, I mean, it did happen, but I guess I don't know how real it was since it wasn't actually a problem. It just needed to pretend to be a big scary problem for 45 minutes. So anyway, getting here, I was, unsettled for sure. And then the grief set in, and I was questioning whether or not I should just return. The wind's blowing, so all these things are falling off the trees. It's pretty cool. Does this mean I need to not be here, et cetera, et cetera? And so I've worked through that. I'm planning to keep going. I've found someone on social media who's a little older than me and has contacts in Merida that helps women like me. And, we've chatted a bit, and she seems pretty awesome, and her friends seem awesome. And so we're making plans to meet up in that vicinity of Mexico later in January. So I'm feeling grateful for that. My older brother texted me this morning that he and his church prayed for me this morning, and then this woman arrived, and she said, I don't do kids, but I feel a maternal instinct over you, and I'll take it. I'll take it. She is Mexican, but she's lived in the States for since before the 2000s, my understanding, and so it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to touch on before I log off here. No, I've found something I'm gonna try to go do. It's a band, and they say they play hits from the early 80s. I don't know if that's what I think that means. Probably not. Nothing here is. So went to the grocery yesterday and really got what I think is going to be sustainable for the next week. I don't really have a kitchen in there. I have a little kitchenette, so I can't really cook, but I can do something. So I'm starting to use some of the tostadas and the pre-made refried beans, which I know are horrible for you, but I love refried black beans in particular. Hated them as a kid, but now love them. And then I put some Oaxaca cheese on it and microwaved it, and that's pretty cool. Been making nachos the same way, which I guess that all of it's nachos. But also got some fruit in there, and trying to stay a little healthy here. And anyway, I loaded up pretty large tote bags. They're not your normal tote bags. These are big tote bags. Both of those were about halfway full of stuff, and all of that was $60 USD. I'm planning to post a picture of that soon. So that's cool. But not much else has been. Well, I also went to Charlie. It's okay. Come here. I also went to eat at a restaurant yesterday. Hi. Come here, Charlie. Okay. Had to get the dogs. They wanted to go say hi. Forgot what I was talking about. Oh, went to the restaurant. That's right. And, oh, I forget what he said it was. I guess I should just ask for those chiquilitas, something like that, that I really like. But anyways, couldn't read his menu. He spoke a little bit of English, which was great. So I just said corn tortillas, beans, cheese. That's, you know, I would love a bean and cheese taco right now. And so they gave me that with the mole sauce on it, which not a huge fan of. I had that some in Texas, and it's not that I can't eat it. It's just not my preference, but I am hoping that I develop a flavor for, or a taste for it, just like I did for other things, right? We acclimate based on our exposure. And that meal was $5 with tip. No, with tip it was $5. It was $6. And they offered me flavored water, which I didn't know what that was. It's just heavily lemonaded water, and it's good. I didn't ask if it was safe because I thought that might be rude. Just assumed he's not gonna serve me not great water. So yeah, the cost of a lot of things are not all that different. Some things drastically different. When I was in Mazatlan and I was getting that amazing ceviche, those meals, I also had a beer with them. Those meals after tip were about $20. So, of course, more tourist area you're in. And that's honestly one of the reasons I didn't stay in Puerto Vallarta very long. It was very touristy. And I wanted to find a spot that had several restaurants I could walk to around it, but those restaurants were not good. So I really liked where I was staying, but it was pricey. And so yeah, I hit the road and wanted to get back to the beach as soon as possible, but needed to go inland first, just because that's where the toll roads are. Like driving straight down the coast from Puerto Vallarta, I didn't really see that option with tolls. I could be totally wrong, but it brought me inland to Mexico City, stayed the night there, and then down here to Oaxaca, 8 hours each leg there. So when the grief was hitting and I'm like thinking about trying to go home, it's not just jump on a flight and go back home. All of us and the vehicle have to make it all the way back. And of course it'd be shorter if I didn't hit the beaches on the way back, but still it's daunting. And the further away I get from home, the more daunting if I were to try to return. So that was the miles. Sometimes I feel them, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, this is beautiful. Enjoying the arid climate, I guess is what they would call it. Oh, I also did try, I forgot what it was called. Al pastor tacos, where they shave it off the big pork something, I guess. And they put pineapple in it. That was pretty good. I wasn't, like, going back now again, I would enjoy it more than the first time, because I was just kind of acclimated. That was like my second day here. I just needed to eat, and I was acclimating to, I'm not real sure that this is pork. I think it is. And then here's some pineapple and these very authentic sauces that they gave me to go and all of that. I had to take it to go because the restaurants tend to not have AC. And once I get out and start walking through the town, I'm even, like I said, 78 degrees, 35% humidity, and I guess the Tropic of Cancer. I'm closer to the sun. I don't know what it is. Maybe just nerves. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna go for now. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.